So yeah, that emo video, I hope you liked it. That was an idea that I've had in my fabled videos idea notepad for about 4 years or something, which just goes to show how important of a mission, you could say, uh, not making fun of emos for the shame that they're trying to put behind them forever truly is. And then when I was coming up with ideas to do with Anthony, I was like, oh my god, what do me and Anthony have in common? We both used to hide the fact that we were massive emos. So there we go. That's why I love the video. It was hilarious. That video made me feel personally attacked. Uh-oh, that's not good. This room is dark and dank like your soul. Thank you. I agree. Like my soul. Is that offensive? Should I be offended? Or is that fine? The G note triggered me. Yes, I mean, I guess that it would. I'm sorry if it did. I did not think of anybody's feelings when I hit that G note right there. Yeah, so it's funny. I had the idea, but I actually wrote it on the car on the way to Anthony's house in about an hour because I was like, oh, what am I doing? He wants me to film a video with him. Literally just busted it out in the car. And then we filmed it in like 15 minutes. And then I've been sitting on it for 3 weeks. And then I looked at it over the weekend and I was like, was that even good? And I was like, wow, no, this is quite the banter. So I decided to do it. When you said you joined the Black Parade, I hadn't left since 2006. Right. Shout out to all the people watching this that joined the Black Parade in 2006 and in their opinions never left. Because I know that there's a lot of people out there that really vibe with that. Just to be sure, to clarify with a lot of people, because you must always assume that no one on the internet has any kind of sense of humor, that they just don't understand that anything is like not completely serious. The video was a joke in that I'm not saying as a political statement that if someone is emo, they should be ashamed. But let's have that discussion. Should people that used to be emo be ashamed of themselves and their past and these photos and the cringe things that happened? Because I'm saying that, like, people, I mean, the video joke is that people are trying to put it behind them and they're embarrassed and you have to be sensitive of it and not be... Everyone's like, no, no, and someone's like, yeah. You look greasy. It's because there's a blue light. I did all the bulbs in this room by myself, and what that means is all the bulbs are yellow, and then there's one blue bulb, because I went to the hardware store, and I was like, I'm an adult, and I know how to fix things in my own house, so I'm gonna get this bulb, and, yeah, like I said, it was just a complete disaster, and I have a blue light now shining down on my face, which is actually really horrible and distracting. I wish anyone taught me anything about how to actually function as an adult, because they truly didn't. So the thing is about emos is, what does emo mean to you? What is emo to you? Is it people that listen to MCR? Is it people that are like kind of gothy and alternative and emotional, but it's not really about the music or the clothes? Is it just an aesthetic style? What is it? Well, you're actually looking at an experienced guru of emo culture since the mid-noughties, and I can talk you through this. This is just my experience of it. So when it was like 2005, and emo started to become like a kind of mainstream enough thing, so that the teens on MySpace were like, yeah, emo wasn't what you think. It wasn't the hair over the eyes. It wasn't the cringe, crazy, you know, XD face, raw, whatever. It was basically like late 20-year-old hipsters living in hipster places like Portland that just didn't like, you know, like Friends and other comedy and pop music and normal things. They shopped at thrift stores and they roasted their own coffee, and they were kind of, you know, but they were basically just hipsters at these days. Not what you consider emo. But then emo turned into this whole like sad fringe. It kind of was like, I'll borrow a bit of goth, I'll borrow a bit of punk, but then I'll borrow it with this kind of, I want to rebel. I want to throw the Bible away and have this just terrifying eye makeup and sexuality, and then the music thing happened. Because the thing is, like, as well, Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, and My Chemical Romance, they're not emo. Like, I listened to a lot of emo when I was a teenager, and it's mostly really shit. Like, there was so much emo music, and it all sounded exactly the same, and it was so boring, and the lyrics were so cringe, and it was so bad. And then all of a sudden, there were these bands who didn't turn off the emo people, but kind of, the hipster emos didn't like them, but then the young kids and the teens that really just wanted this kind of alternative vision that wasn't just like metal or like, you know, indie music, which was rubbish, but they want something that was like a bit queerer, they saw emo and were like, I feel like that represents me. And that's when Panic and MCR and Fall Out Boy blew up. But I don't think, you can't call them emo, because in my opinion, like, you can't drag them down by saying that those are emo bands, because emo music was a thing and it was terrible. The thing is with Panic, MCR, and Fall Out Boy is they're actually good bands. You know, the first 2-3 albums from all of those bands, like, defined an entire generation of people. I'm not saying indie is rubbish, I'm just saying that some people didn't identify as the indie lifestyle aesthetic and brand. It wasn't kind of, some people wanted to be sensitive, some people wanted to wear their mental health on their chest, some people wanted to rebel, because, you know, the thing is about indie and metal, it was still quite masculine. So some people wanted to be alternative, but then they looked at like the metal and the indie communities and were like, no, I don't feel like that would accept me. And then emo came along and was like, hand me your rejects. And they were like, yes, I'll grow out my fringe. And thus, the style period of emo, which is what we all stereotypically associate it with today, was born. But the thing is, MCR, Fall Out Boy, and Panic at the Disco, they're just like rock music. Or, you know, Panic at the Disco was like dance pop, and then the Beatles out of nowhere. Enter Shikari, they were a great band. They sounded kind of emo. They like transitioned into like the horrible new rave period. Tell you something terrible, new rave. Dear God, that was the worst trend of all time. But then it died. What happened was indie became mainstream, emo became less and less relevant, and then, you know, some people now are like, I find these pictures from dinosaur relics on the internet, some 12-year-old, and they're like, I'm emo! And, you know, sure, you do you. Don't let anybody criticize. If you want to look like whatever you want to look like, you do that. But as a trend, it's definitely past. There's no way to look back on that. And then some people, you know, you look at Phil, you look at me for like the last 5 years, you stop being fully emo, but you kind of keep bits of the style without being like tragically trying to overdo the super forced style period of emo that was like studded belts and cringe stripy fingerless gloves and raccoon stripes dyed into your hair and all that stuff. So what is emo now? Is what I'm saying, because there are a lot of comments of people that would be like, Dan, you're still emo, and it's like, what does that mean? Because, you know, I don't have the curly hair, I don't listen to the music anymore, I don't do something, but what is it? Because if I'm saying there was this, you know, the style aspect of emo that was just about the look, and the music aspect of emo that was kind of cringe and terrible, but then there were some bands that were actually just really good and became really mainstream that were liked of it, then what was the thing? What was the culture of emo? I think it was the idea that people looked at alternative cultures, like people that listened to metal, people that listened to indie, people that listened to hip-hop and whatever, and didn't identify with any of them. But instead they said, no, I want to be a bit sensitive. I don't want to be hyper-masculine. I want to be vulnerable. I want to talk about my feelings. I want to have friends where we're all just probably super gay and talk about our feelings and stuff. And that's what is that emotionally? Because if you identify with that, maybe that's emo. You know what I mean? Mm. Anyway, so I'm going to shut up. But as I was saying, the video was just a joke. You don't have to be ashamed if you're emo. But I still do have cringe attacks thinking about those photos. So if you want to go to my Twitter, I just posted some horrendous photos of myself that I will regret sharing with the internet forever, but I had to dig out for this. I'll just load them up for you now because they are just truly horrific. So the first photo we have here is this one of me biting my lip. Oh, I edited that, so my face was so dark. I was just blending into nothingness. Wow. Oh, look at me biting my lip and that angle. Dear God. So I told you I once dyed my fringe purple. Well, it's obviously like so cheap and I had no idea what I was doing. I think I was 16? 16, I think, in that photo. That's you, by the way, Reflector. But the dye ran out in like 2 months and it just went ginger. So, like, I was like, I've got a purple fringe in the summer, and a couple of people were like, okay, honestly, none of my friends cared. I always tried so hard to be popular, and no one ever cared on any level. It was unbelievable how badly I got constantly rejected by people. And then by the time I got back to school, it was just bright orange. So then people bullied me for being ginger. And that was that. So that was a particularly fun one. Oh, dear God. Okay, and then we have this one here. I think this was 2008, maybe. Look at that. My hair, as we've been over this, I never made it look good when it was straight, because my hair's really curly, and I could never straighten it and make it look good. So that was me immediately after I came out of the shower. You think that's Dan, who used to have a really cool hairstyle, looking super emo and cringe? No, that was me with completely wet hair, and I just scraped it over my face, and no one could tell, because that's all I could do back then. Literally post that on the internet. It was quite embarrassing. That one there, look at that. Oh, that was me when I was like 14, and I didn't really quite know how to get the good hairstyle, because I couldn't really go to a hairdresser and say, yeah, I want this thing, because I couldn't explain it. So I didn't actually have a haircut. I just had like normal hair, and I just grew it out, and I tried to style it like an emo, but I actually just looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. On no level did I succeed at looking like a cool emo. I just looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. I said this on a Facebook comment. For 2 years, I was basically like a wannabe emo, because I was like, these people look so cool. I identify with the vibe, and I really like the style, but because when I was 13, 14, I was just a complete idiot whose brain was really underdeveloped, and I was immature, and I couldn't think for myself or anything, which, you know, I look at comments, and I'm like, wow, some people would like twice as mature as me at the same age. I had no idea what I was doing, so I just had like a green hoodie and like a pair of jeans I borrowed from my mum, and I just looked so bad. I was literally like a failed emo, which by then was like the lowest of the low. You don't understand. Like, being emo back then was so like hated on. You actually got bullied just for like having a certain style and listening to certain music. It was just absolutely ridiculous. So that was that. And then we have this one. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, I basically got like a little XD face going on there, holding it, looking super emo in the mirror there. Cringe attack. So there we go. Shared those photos with you. And as I said in the caption, if I can get over posting those on the internet and sharing them with people forever, then you can get over anything.